On the morning of June 6, 1944, while darkness still covered the English Channel, a military force unlike anything in human history advanced silently toward the beaches of occupied France. More than 150,000 soldiers were crossing the sea in thousands of vessels, carrying in their hands the weight of freedom for an entire continent. Aircraft cut through the sky, ships formed a wall of steel on the horizon, and in every craft there were men who knew they might not return. But before the first shot was fired, before the first ramp opened onto the sands of Omaha, there was a decision, a single decision, and it was not made by an army. It was made by one man, an American, Dwight David Eisenhower. Eisenhower's greatness did not begin in Normandy, nor in the command of multinational troops, nor over war maps spread across tables in Europe. It began much earlier, in the heart of the American interior, in a family of modest means that valued discipline, hard work, and personal responsibility. Born in 1890 and raised in Kansas, Eisenhower was not heir to aristocratic military tradition. He represented something far deeper in American history, the idea that true leadership can emerge from anywhere when accompanied by character, preparation, and commitment to the nation. At West Point, he was not just another cadet. He was a meticulous, competitive student shaped by rigor and self-control. Even at a young age, he learned that command is not about ego, but about responsibility. His early career was not marked by glory on the battlefield. During World War I, he remained on American soil training troops. To many, this might have seemed like a lack of prominence. To Eisenhower, it was an opportunity to understand something fundamental. Modern wars are won through organization, logistics, and strategic planning, not merely through individual bravery. Over the following decades, as the world moved toward another global conflict, Eisenhower refined his ability to coordinate men, resources, and complex decisions. He became a specialist in operational planning, deeply understanding that a nation's strength lies not only in its weapons, but in its ability to integrate them with intelligence and discipline. This skill caught the attention of American military leadership at the most critical moment of the 20th century. When the United States entered World War II after the attack on Pearl Harbor, the country needed not only courageous soldiers, but leaders capable of transforming American industrial power into a global coordination machine. Eisenhower was called to Washington and quickly demonstrated a rare ability to organize strategies on a continental scale. In 1942, he received his first major test, leading Operation Torch, the Allied invasion of North Africa. There, he showed what set him apart from many commanders: the ability to work with allies, harmonize different military cultures, and maintain strategic focus above political disputes. His reputation grew rapidly. Soon he became Supreme Commander of the Allied forces in Europe. This position did not simply mean commanding American troops. It meant coordinating British, Canadian, and other Allied forces, dealing with strong leaders such as Winston Churchill and generals with powerful personalities, balancing national interests while keeping sight of the ultimate goal: defeating Nazi Germany and liberating Europe. Then came the moment that would define his name in history: Operation Overlord. The plan to invade occupied France was the largest military undertaking ever conceived. Thousands of ships, tens of thousands of vehicles, a complex supply network, strategic deception to mislead the enemy, and unprecedented air and naval coordination. But no map could eliminate uncertainty. The weather was unstable. The risk was enormous. If it failed, the war could drag on for years. The human cost would be devastating, and the responsibility would fall on him. On the eve of the invasion, Eisenhower wrote a short, simple note devastating in its honesty. In it, he accepted full responsibility should the operation fail. He was willing to carry the burden of failure alone. This act reveals what truly defines American leadership at its best: moral courage. He did not hide behind subordinates. He did not outsource decisions. He assumed command and the consequences. When the invasion began, the beaches of Normandy became scenes of sacrifice and determination, especially at Omaha Beach, where casualties were severe. The courage of American soldiers became a symbol of the fight for freedom. But behind that heroism were months of strategic preparation and organizational discipline. Success was not accidental. It was the result of meticulous planning, industrial capacity, and firm leadership. Victory in Normandy marked the beginning of the liberation of Western Europe. Under Eisenhower's command, Allied forces advanced until the final defeat of Nazi Germany in 1945. The world recognized not only a military victory, but the strategic maturity of a nation capable of mobilizing its resources, uniting allies, and leading a global effort against tyranny. After the war, Eisenhower did not seek personal glory. He continued to serve. He became president of Columbia University and later Supreme Commander of NATO, strengthening cooperation among Western democracies in a world entering the tensions of the Cold War. In 1952, he was elected President of the United States. The general who had led armies would now lead a nation in peacetime. As president, Eisenhower oversaw a period of economic prosperity and international stability. He created the interstate highway system, strengthening infrastructure and defense. He maintained strategic firmness during the Cold War, avoiding direct confrontation while preserving America's global position. And in his farewell address, he once again demonstrated strategic clarity by warning the country about the dangers of the military-industrial complex, a sign that his loyalty was to the Republic, not to transient interests. Dwight D. Eisenhower represents something deeply rooted in the American identity: the idea that leadership is service, that power demands responsibility, that difficult decisions must be made with courage and humility. He was not merely a general who won a war. He was a man who carried the weight of history and guided his nation with steadiness and balance. D-Day remains an eternal symbol of America's commitment to freedom. And at the center of that decision stood Eisenhower, a man shaped by discipline, guided by strategy, and driven by the conviction that true leadership requires accepting risk when the fate of the world depends on your choice. The history of the United States is filled with great names, but few carried a responsibility as immense as Dwight D. Eisenhower. That is why, decades later, his legacy is not only remembered but respected. Because in decisive moments, he demonstrated what every nation hopes to find in its leaders: clarity, courage, and commitment to something greater than oneself. If this story helped you better understand the leadership and sacrifice that shaped the modern world, consider supporting the channel. Leave a like to help this video reach more people, and subscribe to Arquitectos do Poder for more in-depth analyses of the decisions, strategies, and leaders who changed history. Because behind every turning point in the world, there is always someone who had the courage to decide,